Hey, everybody, welcome to EduMatch. Follow along with us at bit.ly/tweettalk79 or on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, did you know that you could be the featured person of the day? You could sign up where it says join us, and we'll definitely tweet out bits of information about you to help you get connected. So right now there's currently a little bit of a wait, but good things come to those who wait. So in the meantime, if you can just sign up, and if your blog has an RSS feed that is findable, we will automatically repost your post. And in addition, we'll tag you whenever a match comes up. So definitely wanted to give a huge shout out to everybody from Integrate Ed. Had the pleasure of learning with you all this past week. But right now we're going to jump into an awesome topic: recruiting high school students into teaching. So this is definitely one that we want to talk about, because there's just so many great conversations that can come out of this. So first, we're going to have the panelists just introduce themselves, and we'll save the moderators for last. So we'll start first with Barbara.
Hey, Sarah, and greetings and salutations to all EduMatchers and all joining in for this evening's Tweet and Talk. I'm Barbara Carter, a tech integration specialist, curriculum developer, and computer educator of 24 years, pre-K through adults. Based currently right now, I'm back in St. Lucia, both the United States and St. Lucia getting set for journey or Far East. But looking forward to tonight's Tweet and Talk, because it definitely piqued my interest.
Awesome. We are so happy to have you, Barbara. So welcome back. All right, we're going to go next to Erica.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Loud and clear, Erica.
Oh, okay. Don't laugh, but this is actually my first Tweet and Talk. And so I'm trying to get the giggles out. But I actually represent Detroit Public Schools. So I'm just glad that everything's working on my end, technical wise. I had to go to my phone, but I'm here because I've been with Detroit for 16 years, and I really have an interest in teacher retention, teacher recruitment, and I know that the legs and the life of our profession depends on us getting new students in and new individuals in to our profession that have a true desire to teach. I don't care if it's suburban or urban or rural. We just need to keep that, keep our profession alive, if you will. So that's why I'm here to offer my input tonight.
Thank you so much, Erica. Welcome to EduMatch, and very happy to have you here. So looking forward to hearing from you tonight. All right, and we are going to go next to Lenin.
All right. Hi, my name is Lenin Audrain. I'm actually a national candidate for Educators Rising National Office and the state president of Educators Rising Arizona. I'm a high school senior, and Educators Rising is actually dedicated to helping to grow teacher retention rates starting in high school by giving hands-on opportunities to students for teaching. So I guess I'm a high school vibe here, trying to give a high school view of why students might not want to go into teaching and what we can do to help them for it.
All right, that is awesome. Welcome back, Lenin. Very glad to have your perspective. Definitely very valuable to hear from our students. Wonderful. So now I'm going to kick it over to our two awesome moderators. So we have Adam and Kimberly. So Adam, if you could please introduce yourself, and then pass it over to Kimberly, and then you all can just go ahead and get rocking and rolling with the conversation.
Hey, Adam Brown. I'm from Virginia. I've been a principal for 4 years now. I work in alternative education and also special education, so teacher retention and recruitment is something I'm really focused on. My dissertation is focused on how to retain quality teachers for our most at-risk students. So before we get to our first question, I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly.
Hey, I'm Kimberly Walden. I'm a third year at the University of Virginia, and I'm studying math and secondary education now. So yeah.
All right, so we're going to start out our first question. I'm going to turn it over to Lenin first. So Lenin, why do you think teaching is not a more desired profession among high school students?
Prefacing this question, I would just like to throw out there that I go to a prep school. So actually, teaching of all the professions is probably the least desirable at my school. But I was actually having a conversation the other day with a group of my friends, one of whom I
That sounded like it was going to be really good. We'll come back to you, Lenin, when we get there. So, Erica, what about you with Detroit Public Schools? What do you think is keeping teaching from being a desired profession?
Hey, Erica. Sorry, I think that you're muted. So if you could just please unmute yourself.
Whew, okay, thank you. I can only assume the following. But during the course of a child's life in school, it seems to me that they see that teachers are kind of browbeaten, if you will, and sometimes not fairly treated. So they also hear about the strikes and the wages not being the best. And these might be just a couple of factors that kind of push high school majors into, high school students, if you will, into other majors that might have better opportunities to earn a better wage or have less stress, or a combination of both.
Erica, so it seems to me that you're saying, that students grow up in the education system, they kind of see the everyday battle that it might be and the teachers' perspectives, right, which can really impact their, why would they want to do that, even though they might not see the better things at times. So that's pretty interesting. Barb, what about you?
Well, with me, I'm actually born of St. Lucian parentage, and it is totally different. For me personally, I grew up leaving high school at the age of graduating from high school at the age of 15, and starting the education, getting into the teaching profession at the age of 16. And it is pretty much the norm not so much the norm for 16-year-olds teaching, but having to leave high school and actually join the teaching profession in the Caribbean. And it's actually the opposite from what I found out when having migrated to the United States and lived there. It was totally the opposite. And when I do mention that, 16-year-old teaching, they look at me and be like, "Were you in the gifted program?" I'm like, no, no, that you complete the high school, it's a 5-year program in high school that we do, unlike the United States where you have a 4-year high school program. In the Caribbean, it's 5 years. And you complete that 5-year program, and you can pretty much go out into the world of work at whatever age that you do graduate. And I graduated early enough, and it was teaching that I gravitated to and have been in the teaching profession since then. And we've had a number of persons in St. Lucia in particular who have gravitated to the teaching profession and see it as a way of, in their words, making a difference.
That's very interesting. I had worked with a teacher and a teacher assistant who are from Kenya, and they talked about in their country, the teachers, when they walked down the streets, everybody would just kind of part the way and almost worship them because that was their way out of poverty and towards prosperity. So that's very interesting. And I'm going to turn it back to Lenin here. Hopefully the connection will be a little bit better.
Sorry about that. For my school being a one-to-one tech school, I'm not one of the best kids with tech. So I go to a prep school. Teaching is one of the least favored professions. Everyone's, aiming politician, doctor, lawyer. But I think, and I was talking with my friends the other day, and I prefaced earlier before my tech had problems that it was actually one of my friends decided that he wanted to be a Spanish teacher, and so now he's going to major in Spanish, and that's what he wants to do. One of my other friends said, "I would love to be a math teacher. I couldn't make enough to survive or to pay off my loans because he's going to have to take out loans if I majored in education." And it takes me aback because I think that's just it's not one of the worst reasons, but it's so horrible that money is the reason that they are held back from the profession. And it's not even the income that totally threw him off. It was the fact that his education was going to cost him more than he was going to make back. And so income was a very, very big key factor, and it is a key factor in determining a career. Sometimes you don't always get the, I'm going to make a difference as a teacher, and that's going to be enough to settle me with everyone. And teachers should be compensated for the great work that they do. They need to be compensated properly like other professions. We compensate doctors for working with the competency of doctors and lawyers for working with the competency of lawyers. We expect great things from them, and we expect great things from teachers too. And if we want those great things, we need to compensate teachers like we do doctors and lawyers.
Preaching to the choir here, Lenin. But those are all excellent answers. So I'm going to turn over to Kimberly for question 2. And Kimberly is a third year at UVA, was recently asked to the Teach to Lead Summit, working with the STD, so a future rock star in education. So I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly to ask question 2 and help moderate that one.
Okay, how can we change the perception of the teaching profession to be more attractive to high school students? So.
I think Leonard pretty much did tap on that in making it attractive, just as they do for other professions. You know, if persons are looking as seeing the predominant factor, deciding factor in joining the teaching profession as being the pay, matching what you have to, you know, the work that goes into becoming a really great profession, an educator. I think we should be, you know, if you want to attract young individuals to become future teachers, then, you know, put out a good enough paycheck for them, you know, so they can see that all that hard work that they're going to put into getting the education to becoming great educators doesn't in fact pay off. And you know, like you identified earlier on, you know, in countries where persons actually see teachers as gods, you go into a country like the United States, you go into another country where it's all about, you know, just, you know, a statistic, so to speak. You know, it's just about a number. If it's not going to be completely gratifying, then you're not going to have these young persons leaving high school seeing the pros for having to go into the profession. If you're going to tell me that I'm going to recruit these young persons to become future teachers, then at least tell them, you know what, I'm going to at least pay for your professional development, your teacher education, professional development. You know, put something in there, throw in the carrot after all.
Do you just jump in and answer the question?
Yeah, Erica, you can go.
Okay. So I thought that anyone that really wants to teach, I'll just say here in Michigan, for example, you pretty much know the landscape. And I figure if you really want to teach, you're going to do it in spite of. You need to know as a high schooler, first of all, that you want to teach. You need to know what you want to teach, and need to know where you want to teach. Are you leaning more towards suburban, urban, or even rural? And you have to understand that if you go into either one of those settings, each one of them, those settings, has their own set of challenges. Some might have more challenges than others. Are you going to stick with those challenges, or are you going to run from them? So I figure, again, if a high school student has sat there and said, I want to be a teacher, they watch the news, they know what's going on in terms of education. I just want them to stay with the field for at least 10 years. Don't just get into it and then run away. I need individuals that's going to be in it for the long haul and not be afraid to be a teacher. Yes, we know the money situation. We know the challenges in some school settings are worse than others. But again, I figured that if you know that you want to be a teacher, you're going to stick with it no matter what.
And I'm going to come back with to Erica on that one. You know, there are many students in high school who really don't even know that they want to be teachers. And
yeah.
I think, if you actually do tie in teachers college, with the high school program, maybe that would help in deciding, help them in deciding whether or not they want to be teachers. Because some of them, they come out of high school, or they're, in their senior years, and they really don't even know if they want to teach, to become a teacher, and much less where they want to teach. I, for one, did not know where I wanted to teach, much less didn't even realize that I was going to gravitate towards computer science. When I started, I started in kindergarten in a rural area.
Okay.
And one thing that can help with that, actually, Educators Rising. So I think hands-on experience in any profession is so important. I think kids that want to be doctors have the opportunity to shadow a doctor for a day, or if they want to be a lawyer or something else. And Educators Rising actually is an organization that is really dedicated to getting students that hands-on experience with teaching. So in high schools across America, you can find Educators Rising programs paired with career and technical education classes that start teaching pedagogy. It starts teaching them how to write an objective, how to write a lesson plan, and has them intern within classrooms, giving them that hands-on experience to, get dirty with teaching, kind of explore it as a real profession, and not just something that's there it's a job, but it's a profession.
So I want to ask Kimberly real quick, you're in your third year at UVA. What have you found to be, what drove you to chose education as a major? And then were there anything specifically in high school that really drove you to choose that major? What has been effective while you're in college that's really solidified your choice as a profession?
So my aunt is an educator. So I've always been around education and schools and things like that. And so she really sparked my interest. But then volunteering with in college and a bunch of schools, and working in the education classes where you have to volunteer with the different schools and age groups, that really reaffirmed my interest in teaching. And so through those, I really decided I wanted to be a teacher, and really enjoyed working with students. So very
cool. We're going to move on to the third question here. So I guess I'll ask the panel if you could think of one specific way we can get students interested in teaching at the high school level. So whether that's taking them on the field trips like people have mentioned, whether it's working more closely with the local universities, what is one specific way that we can really pique that interest and get high school students motivated to at least explore teaching as a profession? And Barb, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. I would definitely say a mentorship program where you have high schoolers being alongside, just be a teacher for a day or a teacher for a week. I think a week would probably suffice, as opposed to a day, because a day might, just doesn't seem to encapsulate what the life of a teacher would actually be like, because you want them to be able to experience fluctuations, a good day, bad day, and a awesome day. So they know, pretty much get a feel as to what it is to actually, get involved in the teaching profession. And I say it's a profession because that's what it is. It's not a job. It is a profession, because when you decide wholeheartedly that you really want to be an educator or a teacher, you recognize it's a calling that you're going to answer a call to. And get those high schoolers into a mentorship program where they become teachers for a week, and they decide if they want to be with a grade level of their choice, an area of their choice, like Erica identified, and most likely a subject area of their choice, because some persons believe that I want to be an educator or a teacher for a specific subject area, and you can decide, okay, maybe you want to do that and try it out for a week, or spread your wings and try out the elementary school, where you have a melting pot of different subject areas, and then you will, hopefully as a mentor to those high schoolers, help them to decide on, when you've recognized that there is a strong, this student or this high schooler is able to really execute a lesson in mathematics or language arts, phenomenally, then you realize, what, maybe you should actually be a math teacher or a language arts teacher, a social studies teacher, or a computer teacher. give them a feel of what it is in the teaching world, getting, like Erica and Lenin said, preparing lessons, working alongside with these students, give them an opportunity to actually, spend a week in the life of a teacher, but you being a mentor to these persons. And I actually absolutely love that what Lenin's they're doing with their program.
Great. So it really seems that you're hinting towards more of that residency style PD and introduction to teaching, like Lenin had mentioned. So Lenin, how could states emulate sort of the educators rising that you're experiencing and potentially motivate them to join the teaching profession?
Well, Educators Rising just came out with 5 new micro-credentials, and I think that's where education is moving towards in terms of professional development. So instead of just having teachers go to PD sessions and get hours, we are getting these credentials where they can take anywhere and everywhere to show that they have met the competencies and requirements of, say, anti-bias instruction or effective classroom management. So Educators Rising has a virtual campus online that you can go to at educatorsrising.org, which allows students starting in high school to explore these 5 basic areas of teaching. So anti-bias instruction, effective classroom management, that I can't think off the top of my head. But high schools, if they really are looking to retain their teachers, should start with the students in their own schools, because studies have been showing us that 60% of teachers return within 20 miles of where they grew up to teach. And so by investing in teacher preparation programs in the high schools, education professions, and early childhood education classes, and by using the virtual campus on educatorsrising.org, which has national board certified teacher videos, it has the opportunities for students to compete in teaching areas, so developing a lesson plan and delivering it as a competition, and also earning these micro credentials. We can start to mold these students and give them the opportunities to execute, as Barb mentioned, real teaching in real situations with real outcomes. So it's not just this ideal anymore. We're having students do real things in a real classroom. And so we can start by investing more in career and technical ed.
Lenin, if you want a job, let me know. For Kimberly, you talked about volunteering and really that having an impact on you. Can you talk about maybe some volunteer opportunities we provide high school students to become interested in teaching?
Yeah, so I know my school had a class for that where you actually got to student teach, co-teach. And so that helped a lot. And also just different groups. Like I know there's like high school groups like for high schoolers that want to be teachers where they can go out into the schools and help with elementary or middle or high school with different events they have. And then in college too, there's a lot of different programs like that where like in your first and second year, you can just like see if that's for you or see if you're interested into teaching. And that's a good way just to see if that's for you.
Okay, great. And Erica, what do you think about sort of inner city schools or schools where unions kind of drive the teaching force a little bit more than in Virginia? What would you recommend for high school students to get them motivated?
Well, first of all, I've enjoyed everything I've heard, especially about the Educators Rising. And I kind of wish, and this is no slight against where I graduated from, but I kind of wish that something like that would have been in place years ago. I know we did have the student teaching, but what the Lenin is speaking of with Educators Rising, it just seems like it's a little more engaging than what I had as far as my student teaching experience, especially with the virtual campus. And I'm hearing there's a lot of classroom simulations out there that can really almost put you in a classroom setting virtually. That's something that's blown my mind ever since I've heard about it. But back to your question, I would like to see more posters, more programming, more marketing towards teaching. Teaching is not a bad field. I know on career day, we get the police officers, we get the lawyers, we get the doctors, okay, yay. But I often wish that we would have a teacher speak on career day, because if all you're seeing is the negatives, you really don't know that we do have fun. It's not a bad profession. There are some perks, and I just wish that, like Barb was saying, we were celebrated, but I guess that's another topic for another day. But we need to get more posters or whatever you need, brochures, become a teacher. Teaching is okay. Just something that floods the high schools alongside be a doctor, be a lawyer. There needs to be some extra marketing towards being teachers, so you can plant that seed that, maybe I should, consider a career in the teaching profession.
Erica, I celebrate you. So I'm going to turn
thanks.
it over
You
to
too.
Kimberly. I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly for our last question of the night.
All right, so that kind of leads into our next question. What kind of field trips or events can high school students go to promote interest in teaching? And Barb, you can go first if you want.
Okay, yeah. The most extravagant one that I remember doing was in having to I've actually had the opportunity of teaching teachers, but not those who were so much just coming out of high school. But we had a couple we had actually 5 teachers who were high schoolers, and the majority of the rest of them were educators who were in the field and they're actually into college. And what I did with them was actually take them out of country one time. And that, we had a fundraiser, we took them into Jamaica and experienced teaching in Jamaica. So they had an opportunity to not only see what it's like in St. Lucia at the time, where you have a class size of 30, 35 kids, and that they got an opportunity to see what it was like in another country where, say, for instance, they don't have teaching assistants. You have class sizes well in excess of over 45, almost 60 kids. You have a hall, and you have to literally utilize all of the skills that you've gotten used to, your communication skills, your organizational skills, and seeing how best you can deal with a day when you have a situation where you have your class size has gone from 42 to almost doubled, and how you're going to handle it. How you're going to handle a situation like that. Of course, those who were pretty much new, that when we had the high schoolers, they were given mentors, and they had the opportunity to work alongside their mentors and come up with, and they learned from a very young age, those high schoolers, how to have centers and have those students rotating in those centers. So it pretty much gave them the opportunity to see the glass as half full as opposed to half empty. Somebody else would probably see that and be like, oh my Lord, is this what the teaching profession is all about? This is what I got to deal with? Well, yeah, the teaching profession, it actually tests you to the limit, because now you're gonna see what the real world of work is. Not everything is as it seems. The grass isn't always green. You're gonna get the good days and the bad days, and you're gonna get those days where your assistant may not be there, and you got to figure out there may not be a sub, and you're going to have to be creative. And that's really testing the limits of those high schoolers. Can you think outside of the box to engage your learners actively in learning, and you now, really enjoying it, not seeing it as a chore, quote unquote, but really as something that you now learning to be a micromanager. Because now you gotta manage those kids. You gotta be able to manage yourself, because you're gonna probably blow a fuse or two, and you now, as a young adult, deciding if I want to be a teacher or not, and go into that profession and answer that call. How are my organizational skills? How is my level of creativity? How good am I in getting those students to pretty much, like someone says, get all those ducks in a row and get the class and the momentum going, and the learning, keeping the learning and getting the learners engaged without skipping a beat.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Erica, do you want to go?
I'm sorry, I was over here just enjoying Barb because she was like right in my backyard when she was speaking. I would like the students to have the virtual because they already see the day to day. I like the virtual classroom. I guess if I just had this thought that if a truck could come and have the virtual setup and they could go in and put on the headset and pretend that they're in the classroom, I would like to see that and see how some of our students would actually handle 25, 30 students, different different backgrounds, academic backgrounds, behavior backgrounds, etc. I would like the students to have access to a virtual classroom. I would like to see that experience.
Erica's got me cracking up.
You do too, Barb. It's funny.
I guess I'll just go very quickly. I've said it before, but I think having lots of in-class, I think someone said residency, and at Rising we call it internships. That hands-on experience, peer tutoring. I mean, looking at getting kids into a classroom in a different role where they aren't just sitting in a desk, whether it be an observer, whether it be a teacher's aide, whatever it may be. We just don't want them, we don't want the students feeling like they are just watching the content being given. We want them to be engaged with giving the content in some way. So field trips to, I think, a lot of the teacher prep programs. I think it's cool when I visited ASU and you see the math classes where they're teaching how to teach math to early childhood and they're using the blocks. And I think visiting teacher prep programs at colleges, more internship opportunities where students feel really engaged in the classroom as if they were an instructor. And that's all I can say. So thank you.
I agree, Lennon. Teaching is not a spectator sport.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. You all just brought the fire tonight. So thank you all so much for this fantastic conversation. Twitter was just going crazy and just with all of the great points that everyone was making. So I wanted to thank our panelists. So Barbara, Erica, Lennon, thank you so much. And thank you to our awesome moderators, Adam and Kimberly. So definitely wanted to remind everyone that the Twitter chat archive will be put out within the next few minutes. And also the audio will be stripped from this podcast and it'll be put out through iTunes. So next week, we are going to be talking about reading comprehension strategies. So if you want to be a panelist for that, then just sign up at tinyurl.com/EduMatch sign up. So definitely would love to have you all on board. Wanted to give a huge shout out to Ed Change Global, which will be happening this Tuesday, I believe, the 28th of February. So that's going to be educators from all around the world and students just kind of getting together, sharing and learning. It's going to be amazing. So if you want to subscribe, then check out bit.ly/EduMatch podcast. So everybody, thank you again for joining us and have a wonderful week.